She's one of the most trusted and recognizable faces on South African television, a multi-award-winning broadcaster and journalist for over 2 decades. She's been waking up the nation on Morning Live, shaping conversations that matter and telling the stories that move us. It's Leanne Manas.
This Women's Month, we get up close and personal with a few South African women who run their game.
And boy, does she run her game. Yes! Leanne Manas is in the building.
Oh, this is so awesome.
It is so awesome. It's
Wow.
our second rodeo.
We were trying to work out when the first rodeo was.
Yes.
Because the years have just molded into each other. So I don't know, what's like 7 years ago?
So 2018, I was at 5FM still at
crazy.
the time. You actually walked in and I was trying to figure out, was I here? Was I at
No,
5?
you were there.
Yeah.
You were there. You were still there at 5FM, and it was the first time ever that I'd brought my kids
Yes.
into the SABC building.
Wow.
And they were so excited.
Wait, how come they'd never been?
Well, they were literally, so if that's 7 years ago, so it is my, so here, he was 11, my
Okay.
son, who's turning 16 on Saturday. And then my daughter is turning 13 next Wednesday.
What?
So if we go back, I mean, she was a tiny tot and he was
I feel
11.
old.
Do you have any idea
Oh
how
my
old I feel?
goodness.
I mean, it's insane. But
Well, firstly,
so they're big
congratulations.
milestones. Thank you.
Congratulations on raising amazing children. When you look at them, do you see bits of yourself?
I do. I
Yeah.
must say, it's the most surreal thing when you
Yeah.
have children and you're seeing them growing up, you're seeing them develop their little personalities, and especially at these ages, and you start seeing little snippets of you.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily the side that you like of yourself, especially the stubbornness and the pig-headedness, but there's also those real gems that you think, man, this is working out okay.
But you also speak of how when you were a young girl, you never imagined you'd be the Leanne today. Are they outspoken? Are they like more like you now or younger you?
I almost feel like they picked up from me now
Yeah.
more than from before, and that was, and I'm grateful because I think a generation that this is a different generation. It's a
is.
generation of
TikTok videos.
like
of
they are out there.
Yeah.
They are out there. They're alive. But what's so beautiful about what I'm loving, and I'm listen to me. I'm speaking on a station that people probably will know them. But what I'm loving about them is I hope and pray what I see and what I'm being told is that I am bringing them up with respect. They are respectful kids, and that means anything to me. More than that, I don't want. Whatever
Yeah.
they achieve in life, good for them. But if they remain respectful, then I've done my job.
How are you doing motherhood different from how your mother did motherhood?
Yeah, it's a good question because I don't know if I'm doing, I mean, obviously I'm doing so much different because it's a different world. This is a world of you almost in a way, you still have to parent your children, but you also need to be able to relate to them. Because in this day and age, if you can't relate to them and speak to them in their language, you might as well stop your communication with them. And I mean this in the terms of this digital world, in terms of the TikToks, in terms of the this very social media driven world. So I try and get into their minds, but at
So
the
are you
same
doing
time,
TikToks at night with them?
Definitely not. Definitely not. No, I don't. And listen, I don't even have. I mean, I've got a TikTok account. And I never
Yeah.
posted on it, but apparently I do. But apparently there's about 10,000 accounts in my name. But that's another story. But yeah, I mean, I try to relate to them. You need to relate to them. Then you need to understand how their minds tick. Just as I try and make them understand my world and how I
Yes.
tick and the things that matter to me, I also want to know what matters to them.
People wouldn't believe, though, that the Leanne who we have known for so many years, who speaks so well, who relates to and makes us feel like we know everyone she speaks to, was one that didn't want to speak, one that was shy and wasn't out there.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it came from, I was just a very shy kid. And that's just the way I was. I hated attention. I hated speaking. I was the kind of kid that if you didn't pick me up if the bell rang at 1 o'clock and my mom wasn't there, I would start crying and run to the
Where did
teachers.
that come from? Do you
I don't
know?
No, it was just my character. I was just a very shy character. And then my mom would take me to elocution lessons. I don't know if your generation even knows what elocution lessons are.
No.
How
what do
now?
you do in an
How
elocution?
now, brown cow?
Oh, yes. So that feels like when you you warming up in a drama
the
class.
rain in yes,
Yes.
you do drama.
Okay.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane.
Yes.
But you would have to speak like you have hot potatoes.
The rain in
your
Spain
mouth.
has yes.
falls mainly on the
Yes.
plane. So anyway, I would go to these elocution lessons. But then it was only a lot later on that elocution turned into drama. So I did drama. I mean,
And a lot of people don't know that
No,
you
they
actually
don't.
studied drama.
and I was really good at it. I have to tell you.
What happened? We'd love to see Leanne, the actress.
I think I liked money too much. Can I say? Am I allowed to say that?
You can.
Yeah, I did. I liked money a little bit too much because, in the day where I was in drama and studying drama, there wasn't a single soap opera. There
Sure.
wasn't a single.
What year was that?
I mean, I was still in school, so we're talking early. It would be the late 80s, early 90s.
Sure.
So we would sit, and I remember being with all my drama friends, and one of my drama friends said her greatest ambition was one day to create a soap opera for South Africa. Not a Bold and the Beautiful, not a Loving, not a Days of Our Lives, but a proper South African story. And I was like, wow, you ever think that'll happen?
And then
look at us.
Probably the biggest one at the time, or the first to come out, would have been like Generations.
Remember those?
Yeah.
All of them.
So when that comes out, are you thinking, oh, that could have been my shot?
No. By that time,
okay.
the acting wasn't even a part of
Okay.
who I was. But if I have to be honest with you, acting is what I do every day.
True.
It is.
True.
It never changed. So I am one of the hardest roles to play in your life. And I love speaking to you as an actress because I remember once trying to teach people how to read news and how to be a sort of in a current affairs environment. It's very different to being on a stage. One of the hardest roles in your life is to play yourself. How do you come across as likable as yourself, not pretending and being real, but still being professional?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
But
it's
also
easy
diving into the lives of the people that you speak to and being
Absolutely.
truly invested.
because it's really easy to have a script and become that character in
Yeah.
a program, and then you can become, the evil person, the good
Yes.
person, the this, the.
You're right.
But after X amount of time, if you are not yourself on this radio show, on whatever I do, people will figure you out. They will figure you out. You can't act for that long, and it is an art to play yourself,
So
and to be yourself.
Acting continues in the life
It
that you
does.
live now.
It does.
But in reality, at the time, you then were reading traffic on
Yes.
702, correct?
I was. Yes, I was.
Crazy.
That's how it all started. I mean, I started actually teaching speech and drama. So I went in
Okay.
and I started doing that and thought maybe that was what I'd want to do. But I knew all along it wasn't. There was so much inside of me and so much that I wanted to achieve before I went back and taught.
How do you land a job at 702 as a traffic presenter?
Oh, man. I was quite cute when I
Okay.
was a lot younger. So
We'll find the picture.
I don't know. Maybe I've aged better, but I thought I was quite cute then.
I'm sure you
And so
were.
it was at a time when we were sitting at a coffee shop in Melville, and I was desperate to find a job in broadcasting. It didn't matter what it was. I just wanted to get my foot through the door. And there sitting was good old Aki Anastasio.
Sure,
On the
yes,
traffic
yes.
desk. And I thought, and my friend said, just go and speak to him. Just tell him what you want. So I was like, do you think I should? Yes, just go. Luckily, Aki liked ladies. So I went up to his table and I said,
Okay, now we believe you were pretty.
Exactly. So Aki anyway, that was it. So I said to him, please, I don't know. He said, listen, give me a call. Let's see what we can do. And that was it. And I mean, I started off right at at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the pit. It felt awful sitting there. And I remember I had a degree.
Where was 702 at the time?
It was in the old building.
So in Green Lane here in Sandton?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was there. It was in Sandton, and it was very different.
Yeah.
It was different. You were sitting in a smoky newsroom.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
It was just, but it was exciting because now this was journalism. This was real stuff, and I watched all these reporters going out on stories and the vibe and the angles and the smoke-filled newsroom. I mean, that
Yes.
was not, it's
Like you
not
see
a
in the
cliche.
movies.
It's not a
Yeah.
cliche. It actually was that. So, I mean, and that's why this voice is how it is. 'Cause it smoked a lot in its day. Definitely not anymore. But I mean, that was what you would do. But anyway, I sat there and I watched this with these big eyes of mine thinking, this is unbelievable. I want to do this.
Wow.
And that was when the bug really bit. But I had a postgraduate, I'd done my honors in communications and English. I was already sort of on the journalism route
Yes.
because I'd figured this was kind of what I was
Isn't
loving.
it crazy how the world does that?
It
It almost
shifts.
sort of conspires to get you to the place
It does.
that you need to be. So you start off doing Traffic 702. You also anchored news at night. You approach
Yes,
your
overnight.
Overnight.
A horrible
when no
shift.
one's listening.
No one, not a single soul. And there was even a threat in the building the one day.
Ooh.
And I stayed there. And I was like, I'm going to stay. I'm going to do it. And I stayed. It was the shift from, it was at 7 at night until proper 4 or 5 in the
Oh, my
morning. Like
goodness.
to just make sure no one was listening. It was amazing. But it was the best shift
Yeah.
ever because that was, one thing people don't realize is that we are humans and humans make mistakes. And we need the platforms to make mistakes. The bigger the platform, the harder the fall.
Yeah.
So if you're making mistakes on prime time, you're destroying
Correct.
your future.
And you shouldn't be there to begin with,
you shouldn't
right?
be
You
there.
shouldn't be
you
there.
should be paying the bills.
Do you think the generation now understands that? It almost it's almost like an instant gratification
It
thing.
is. Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know because these days everything is instant. I mean, I my kids ask me advice and I've got to give them an instant solution. And that instant solution, I'm like, I'm going to ask Chat quickly, That's kind of,
ChatGPT, yes.
Let's ask her. Let me see, because
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
like one of my best friends
Yeah.
now. I really love her. But yeah, this is the thing. Everything's instant. You want to buy something, you buy it now and it'll be delivered. You want to know something. You want to, I didn't come from that generation. And this is the instant generation. But man, oh man, you may get that kind of satisfaction, but experience can never, ever come instantly.
No, 100%. But some would say it's a little bit unfair for the youth to say, oh, you need to work your time. That's what
Yeah.
you had to do.
Yeah.
They say that's what your generation had to do. You guys didn't have cell phones, so you had to go, I don't know, send each other faxes in order to speak. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
I can say a lot to it because it's not about that. What I'm trying to say is that you guys, it's beautiful to have that instant gratification in terms of knowledge. But experience takes years. Experience takes years and lots of disappointment and mistakes and highs and lows and tears and laughter to build and create a character.
And there's so many things that happen along the way that
Totally.
that actually speak to who you later become. That had those things not happened, you wouldn't be who you are.
You wouldn't. I mean, you'll throw a question at me and you'll ask me what it's like to have been in a position of covering somebody like Nelson Mandela's funeral. Now, I could tell you, but I will speak to you from experience of walking through his, when he was laying at state at the Union Buildings and being one of the very first people to walk past and seeing this
Sure.
great statesman lying there in state with
How does
his,
that work? Okay, let's track back a bit.
Yeah.
So this happens. Take a listen.
Fellow South Africans, our beloved Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, the founding president of our democratic nation, has departed.
Where were you when Jacob Zuma made this announcement?
You want to know? I was sitting in a hotel in Bloemfontein.
Sure.
Yeah, nowhere near the studio, nowhere
Sure.
near anywhere that we were meant to kick into what was known as the M plan. I was nowhere to be found. I had just jumped out of a plane. I'd gone skydiving and we were doing a
You mean literally jumped out of a
jumped out of a
plane?
plane. We were doing a live broadcast from an Air Force base the next morning in Bloemfontein, and I had just done the jump. I've never felt more on top of the world and alive ever before. I don't know if you've ever skydived.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that feeling?
Yeah.
It's just
Like you can conquer anything and
oh
everything.
man, this was like, and we would like just, And then the news came through and I am stuck in Bloem. Everything that was, I drove around with a black suit in the back of my car for months because of everything that was supposedly meant to happen. And
But let people understand why that is. So I think
Yeah.
let's not assume they understand
what that
why.
means.
Yes,
Okay.
why you had to
So
drive with
it
the black suit.
It meant that, the black suit would be in the back of the car because whenever you got the phone call to say that, Tata Madiba had passed, you would have to, wherever you were, get in the car or turn your car around and drive straight to the studio, be in makeup, ready to be on set to go live with this announcement, with the broadcast plan, which was called the M plan. So
Yes.
there you go.
Okay.
And that was how it was. So I landed up in Bloem and I was doing the broadcast there and everything had to change, which is another lesson in life and a beautiful lesson in life. You've got to be able to
Adapt.
change and adapt. But I still do believe that was for a reason. And I don't know. I don't really speak about the reason too much because I don't know if it's true or if it's not or if it's just me looking into things. I always remembered that I had at the time I was anchoring the show with the late Vuyo Mbuli.
Of course.
And we were meant to do that together as we would sort of be called, go in, do the broadcast, whatever. Vuyo had passed a few months before that, and that black suit that I was driving around happened to be the black suit that I had to wear on the morning that I had to go into studio to say that this is real. It was the Monday morning. He had passed, obviously, the late hours of the Saturday night or the early hours of the Sunday morning, and I was wearing that black suit. Anyway, a few months thereafter, I go out and I do this broadcast, and as I'm driving to the broadcast site now, we decided, okay, we have to change. We can't exactly do what we were planning on doing. So we went to the cooling towers in Bloem. And the cooling towers was, there's a church there, a little church where it was the original formation of the ANC. It was formed there. But on the cooling towers are the faces of the party leaders of the ANC. And Madiba happened to be on one of them. And we thought, that's a beautiful place to actually go and do the broadcast from. So when I'm driving there, in the early
Is that
hours,
the reason that
no,
you okay, it's still coming.
It's bigger than that. So I'm driving and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving in a car alone. And as I'm driving, I look to the side and I carry on driving and I look again. And I drive past the hospital, the Bloemfontein hospital. And it sort of just comes to me that that was the hospital that Vuyo passed away in. And I was doing the broadcast with him,
Leanne.
but not in the way it was meant to happen.
Of course.
Standing alone at that place, but perhaps maybe his spirit was still there. I have no idea, but things work out in the weirdest ways.
100%. I think it's not even doubt that.
I mean, who would have thought you'd go skydiving and that would be the phone call? But yeah, and that was, when I talk to you about experience, I'm talking to you about those moments that you can ask Chat anything and she'll give you the answer. But ask yourself that same question, and can you, from your archives, give that kind of answer and bring that kind of experience into a story that you're telling? Life is about storytelling, and those stories make up who we are. And however long you're on earth, it is that story that is your story, no one else's.
Well, we've got your archives. This is a clip of you and Vuyo Mbuli on live. I think the year's 2005.
Bravo, you're sharp, my bro.
You're going to give us the weather?
Hey, tomorrow.
Thabethe said you're going to do the weather for us.
Is it? No, Margot will do the weather.
Okay.
I'll do the weather on another day. How's it?
I'll enjoy that. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Thank you.
25 minutes past 7.
This clip was so funny to watch, right? It was the oldest one we could find. But it was so funny to watch. What was Vuyo like? Because he strikes me as he would just say whatever.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he really did. I mean, he was just insane. He was absolutely insane because he would just be like, and I was warned. Like going into work with him. It was like, listen, do you know that, what it's like working with him? It's a very different world altogether working with Vuyo Mbuli. You got to be on your toes. And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, it's not easy. It's this, it's that, and the next. Anyway, when I did start working with him, I was like, I never got that. I never understood that because he was really great, and maybe I was just on top of my
maybe you
game
were
as
on
well.
your toes. Yeah,
and it was okay, but I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful team, and it meant a lot to the country at the time, to us, to the program, to where we were going. It was beautiful.
How did you get the call to be on Morning Live?
Well, I mean, it started off as I was first asked because I sort of stopped my journey at the traffic desk.
Yes.
Which a bit earlier, but it didn't stop there. It carried on for quite a long time thereafter until I landed up in business news and finance journalism. And so I started doing finance journalism, and I worked at a financial television station. It was called Summer TV at the time, but Business Day it was owned by that Times Media. Anyway, so I worked there, and I'd studied economics journalism, and I'd really got into the business sphere of things. Never in my life a drama student in business.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Your life went that
What
way.
do I tell you that I act every day?
Yeah.
I mean, I was acting out the markets at one point. But anyway, so I started doing that, and that was fantastic. I was suddenly really enjoying the business world, and I was taken across to the SABC to start 2 programs. And I was only doing them for a few months when Tracy Going decided that she was going to leave. So they asked me at the time,
So Tracy Going was going to leave.
Exactly. Yeah, she was gone. And then they asked me, would I like to take over? And this was the biggest decision I ever made, was to say, no way, man, I'm not ready for this.
Did you say no?
No. I said, I'm so not. I'm here to do a business program, and you're making me sit on this breakfast program that everybody watches. I mean, there was no variety at that time.
Leanne, I think you were in your 20s.
No, yes. Actually, I turned 30 when I was in my late 20s when I started. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Late
Like,
20s.
That's such a big responsibility.
Well, It was, and then I said no. So I declined it, and I said, no ways, no, not me. And then the whole country came to audition for it. I mean, there was literally a queue that was from the foyer of where the SABC was all the way down into the streets of where the building is, and it still is. And it was crazy. And I walked past this on my way to present my little business program. I'm like, what have I done?
Everyone wants the job
like,
that
what
I
am I
said
doing?
no.
Anyway, I declined it, and then it was in 2004 when they asked me to do the general elections. Now, I had never done this kind of a broadcast before. I'd never done politics. I'd never done a general election. And when you do elections for the SABC, you realize the power of the public
SABC.
broadcaster. That public broadcaster jumps into a space that I wish it would stay in all the time, because it is a machine that is beautiful and well-oiled, and it's the reason I adore it, for what it does and can achieve. So that was that. And then we sat together, and when that opening sort of jingle came and the two of us sat there was a spark and magic that sort of erupted, and it stayed that way. And they asked me again to take over, and I did.
And you said yes.
And I said yes this time, because I was ready.
And now you've celebrated, 21 years? You celebrated on the 1st of August of
Hey,
being...
well done. How do you know that?
I mean,
That's amazing.
I've got people who
I'm
tell me
ignoring
things.
I'm ignoring it, but yes.
How do you do
I got
that?
the key to the door. Not.
I think this show is the longest running show I've ever done, and it's only 4 years.
Wow. Gee, okay. Yes.
How-
Well done to you.
Thanks. How have you done 21 years?
I know.
How do you not end up in like a lull and almost like a routine? How do you keep it alive?
I think news is something that is, we live in a country where, and you'll have, we have every minute of every day a breaking story, and it's not necessarily good. It's not a good thing, because it's a devastating thing to have to be confronted with every day, is that there is hard news out there. It is tough, and you're basically, you're reporting on the destruction of the world, because you literally see it happening firsthand, and it's very scary. But at the end of the day, it's not something that you actually can get bored in. It almost becomes, it's a terrible thing, but you do almost thrive off of live breaking moments, because that's what you're built
I've
for.
seen it. It's like
You kick into
a lot of
zone.
like news people like who died.
Yeah,
What,
you
know
kick
what I mean?
into a zone, and it's like, let's go. This is what I'm made for.
Yeah.
And you thrive on it. It really does. And I'm not saying I want to thrive on
Of course.
people's downfalls, but it is a job. You have to decode after that, because it really is. You stop everything, and it all becomes about the story. And that's, I don't know. I mean, 1 year became 5 years, became 10 years, became 15 years, became 20 years, became 21 years. It became a part of who you were and who I am.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how much longer. I can't tell you. But while it's lasted,
Who's going to do it if you
amazing.
leave?
Hey, gosh, yeah.
I think
Remember that queue I told you
No,
about?
but-
It's longer. it's longer. And
Someone else waiting.
It's longer and more beautiful. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, there is always somebody much, much better out there. But I've enjoyed my place while I've had it. It's been great.
You did a TED Talk about your impossible and how this was your impossible. This, I think even every time I speak to you, it feels like my impossible.
Yeah, oh man.
No,
I love you.
for real.
Yes.
Because think about it. When you started on Morning Live, I was 14.
Oh, wow.
So I was putting on Vaseline in front of the heater, and every morning you'd wait for Morning
Vaseline in front of the
Live.
heater?
Yeah.
How unpleasant
Try
is that?
it in the winter.
Oh,
Works-
yeah.
works
Can I be
absolute
honest with you?
magic.
That's the story I get from everyone. And somebody said to me the other day, "What do people say to you when they see you all the time now? Do they all come running up to you for a photograph?" And I said, "Yeah, they do." But I think what I'm really cherishing at the moment is how people come to me with such emotion in their eyes. Because they will relay a story, that story.
Yeah.
And they will relay a story of growing up with their grandparents, growing up with their parents. Maybe their parents have passed. Maybe life didn't turn out the way they wanted to, or maybe, in fact, it turned out better than they ever expected to. But they all have that same look of such beautiful memories and a time that felt so much more innocent.
Absolutely.
And it just, it brings tears to my eyes. And
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful people feel okay to come and share those memories with me. I love it.
We knew you before you knew us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we've known you all
Exactly.
of our beautiful lives.
I love it.
In the times that you've managed to interview some really big names.
Yeah.
I mean, Diana Ross comes up as one of them. Who you also speak though about how, in as much as you have your Celine Dion's, your Diana Rosses, and so many more, that it's the normal people.
Yeah, it is
right?
always the normal people
that
for
it's,
me.
That it's the very difficult
Yeah.
sort of heart-wrenching stories where people tell their true lives and experiences and share that with you that move you.
Yeah, I love people because everybody has a story. I said that to you earlier. You know, we are all a living story, and storytelling is a gift. And if you master the art of storytelling, it's beautiful. But I think, and I will always say this, is that there are people, and famous people have the ability to tell their story because everybody wants to listen.
Yes.
And that's what's so nice about it. But there are people that nobody wants to hear their story. And those are the people that appeal to me. Those are the real people. Those are the people, the forgotten people of this world, that they have as much of a place and deserve to be here than anybody else does. And they also have the right to have their story heard. And man, those stories they are heartbreaking and beautiful all at the same time. And I think what you sort of, perhaps maybe what I refer to when I say the people that I speak to, that I have through the years grown, and the excitement of being in the company of beautiful celebrities and all of that kind of stuff is still there. But for me, it's going to the root of people. And especially when I do these trips into refugee camps, and I speak to people that have been through things that you and I in our lives would never dream of, and yet they still find it in their hearts to be grateful and thankful for life. That gets me, because it's amazing.
What's the most notable story that you can share with everyone?
Oh, man, I don't know where to begin. You know, I don't want to upset people because it can upset you. And sometimes people don't want to have their worlds rocked, and I don't blame you because...
No, let's rock our worlds.
That's not what life is about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think one of the worst stories I heard was a woman that I met in Mozambique, and that was last year? My years mold into each other. Do you see what I'm saying? You talked to me about 21 years. I don't know. It's impossible because I'm
Who's
losing
counting?
it.
No one's
I'm not
counting.
counting. Anyway, it was either... no, it wasn't last year. It was the year before. It's definitely the year before. I went to Mozambique, and it was a very emotional trip because, I mean, it's up the road, literally up the road. And everybody posts their beautiful pictures of going on holiday in Mozambique and how magnificent it is. And so I go there, and I speak to a woman, but this is up in north of Mozambique, and this is where things are not good at all. It's really, 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 really bad. I can't emphasize to you enough how bad it is. We were meant to do a live broadcast from there. We tested during the ad break. Everything was okay. And then suddenly, obviously, they got wind that we were about to go live, and all the satellites shut down. And the broadcast couldn't go ahead. But we were there, and we still spoke to people in the area. And one woman explained that she'd just come across the bridge. And it's the bridge going into the north, and nobody is allowed there. You just can't go into those areas because it's too dangerous. There are terrorist groups there, whether we like to admit it or not. We don't get into the politics of it, but they are there. And this woman had just come across because her husband in their village had his head cut off. And the guys that cut off her head gave it to her.
Oh, my goodness,
to carry to the police station to say that if they come to that village and they try and do anything, this is what's going to happen to everybody. She then ran across that bridge, and she still had blood on her clothes. And this is the kind of story that you hear. I know you don't want to ruin people's imagination of, beautiful beaches and nuts and all these stunning things that happen. But there's also another side to a story and a reality of those stories that nobody wants to hear.
But that's also the importance of journalism and
It
what
is.
you've done over the years. I mean, imagine a world where people weren't held accountable.
Nope.
When stories like the one you tell weren't told.
Yeah.
The world would be in shambles.
It would be. And the other thing is that politicians want you to point the camera in a certain direction. And I always say that to the young journalists and the producers that come out on stories. And I sat chatting to the one the other day, and we were doing a broadcast from wherever it was. And I always run away from the camera, and I go and speak to other people, and I go and find out what the real story is, because I know why we're there and who sent us there, but I don't really want to actually be there for you. I want to be there for the other people. And you go and find out the story behind the camera, because there is a bigger story behind the camera, because people want you to look in a certain direction, but what's happening in the other direction is actually the story. And that's what you've got to
It's
focus on.
actually usually a cover-up.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to focus on what's happening on the other side of the story.
What are your thoughts on the state of journalism in South Africa right now?
I think I can speak about the state of journalism in the world. It's not in a position that we can be proud of, unfortunately, because we've got unbelievable journalists that are committed to wanting to tell the truth, wanting to go out there, do the stories and do them properly and expose things that, we've seen the history of journalism in South Africa. If it wasn't for state capture, we would never have known about it. That's probably one of the best examples we can give. However, it is the biggest, most underfunded sector in anywhere. So you are seeing journalists leaving all the time, and good journalists, into professions that can actually enable them to have a life.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a life as a journalist. This is the problem. And magazines are shutting down, newspapers have shut down. Everything is online, but then people refuse to pay because it's behind a paywall. So then what happens is that you have fake articles that are stealing the limelight. My feeds are full of fake rubbish that I look at every day, and I'm thinking, even I get caught out sometimes and think, did this really happen? And then I stop for literally 5 seconds. I'm like, okay, it's fake. It's not even real. Fake videos, fake articles, fake stories, deep fakes. And the problem is there are no sort of people that want to come forward and support proper journalism. And that's a problem. And that's not just South Africa. That's around the world. And you're just watching broadcasters struggle. Everything. It's very, very difficult to watch. I don't know where we go from here, I don't know. But I think journalism is taking on a different role. It's not about who's first. It's about who's right.
Sure.
And you know what? That's also a very bold thing to say, because there are different rights and different wrongs. You've got to see who funds which is another factor, That's
right?
another factor
which
you've
I
got
think
to do.
a lot of consumers don't think about.
You don't think about
You just
that.
eat it
Yeah.
up as it is given to you.
As you're given, that's it. But you don't realize who's actually funding that news organization, who is. So to truly, truly, truly get unbiased news in a world that is dominated by very loud voices, and those are the voices that are heard. For instance, at the moment, Donald Trump is the only voice we hear because it's the loudest and it's the most shocking. And whoever has the ability to shock the
also
most
the
gets
shock
the
factor.
attention.
Yes.
It
So
works.
again, back to the acting. Now it's real acting.
Oh man, this
now
is proper.
Now it's theatre production.
Exactly. It's a Hollywood style.
Exactly. On a lighter note, you've been married 19 years.
Yes, I have. Yes, I had to think about that. Because I was going to say, because I'm so used to saying it's going to be 20 years this year. Yes, 19
Leanne,
years.
your husband's surname is not Manas.
No, definitely not. No.
That's your maiden surname.
That's my maiden surname, yes.
I don't know, with like black women, if you don't take the husband's, name, what are you even doing?
Well, okay, so I everything else is my married surname.
Okay. This is
Everything.
a stage name.
So it's not a stage name,
Yeah.
it just stayed.
Okay.
It kind of was. I started with that name.
Yes.
And then I just carried on with that name. However, when I went to go vote,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, well, let me vote. Let me go look for Manas. And then suddenly I wasn't registered. And I'm like, I'm not registered to vote.
Yeah.
No, lady, you were married, weren't you? I had to have the lady from the IEC telling me. I'm like, I am. Yeah, why?
Yeah.
She goes, well, what's your married name? So there it is. And I found it under my married name. So no, everything is under my married
Okay.
name except for what you know as sort of, Manas on air.
I think also a lot of people, and I mean, I'll speak for myself. I always was like, what is Leanne? Like, what is her heritage? Like, what is she?
Yeah, I know. Isn't
You
it
know what I
funny?
mean?
We
Like-
need to put
Yeah.
why?
Are
You know,
people afraid to ask you that?
no, not at all.
Okay.
No.
So
I
what
mean,
are you?
So I am South African first,
Yes.
more than anything in the world, because I was born here. My parents were born here.
Okay.
But my great grandparents were born in Lebanon.
Okay.
So it's my sort of That's where this dark hair, dark skin.
Do you know where that tracks back from? How you ended up in South Africa, or how your family ended up in South
they
Africa?
each had their own story as to how they all arrived here, and it's quite interesting, and a lot of it stems from trouble, in their
Oh, in the
respective
countries,
the
okay.
country. So it just was better to find contacts wherever you could to find family, and a lot of them, if I have to be honest with you, I think quite a few of the Lebanese, and not only the Lebanese, a few other countries as well, thought they were on a boat to America, and then they landed up in Africa. And then it was like, no, hang on, wait, this is not where you said we're going. And it took like days and weeks, and then they arrived, and they had to start a life here. And it was, I think it was quite difficult in the beginning when a lot of them arrived here because, obviously you're seen more as Arab than you are as a European, because you're not. You come from the Arab nations. And it was a battle for a lot of them to actually be classified as white.
What is your next impossible? Because now you've conquered this impossible, as far as I'm concerned. What's next for Leanne?
There's a couple of impossibles, and this year's been a real discovery for me to start finding what my next impossible is. So the first time I started that achieve my impossible was actually the day I summited Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
That was where I came up with that line, and that was my. Like, hell no,
I can't
do a mountain? There's
never.
no way. And I did. And that was just beautiful. And the fact that I could do it meant that anybody could do it. And I genuinely mean that. I could do it. Anyone can do it. Can do it. Still do it. So this year I've started finding the book in me, because there is a beautiful story to tell.
100%.
A very nice story to tell. And it's still being written. So it's there.
That's amazing.
I started studying again this year.
What are we studying now?
We are studying through the University of Cambridge.
Okay.
I love dropping that.
Wow.
Hey,
Leanne,
doesn't it sound
that is
very
amazing.
impressive?
Can you guys give her a round
Yeah,
of applause?
please, clap.
I mean, what is that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have started studying
Yes.
again, so I'm studying kind of what I already do, but
Yeah.
I just want to elevate myself to another level, and I'm loving it. My stimulation is just beautiful. It's just amazing.
Do you have dreams of international journalism? Do you have dreams of CNN and Sky News?
I used to. I did. Yes,
Yeah?
I did have those dreams a while ago. But this is my home. I am so truly dedicated to this country that it drives me mad, because I've had lots of opportunities and I've never taken them.
You've
because
said no?
Yes, I have. Because this is my home. This is where my heart is. This is what I know. This is what I love. I truly love this place. And it doesn't matter, there's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But my goodness, there are problems everywhere.
Yeah.
And I would rather deal with the problems I know with.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, I have such an affinity to this country. This country has given me the best of education. It's given me a beautiful home. It's given me a career that I am proud of.
Yeah.
It's given me a people that I love and that have seen me for who I am, not because of the color of my skin and not because of my religion and not because of who I am or how much money I've got or what, but for genuinely seeing who I am. And I don't believe that in any other country I would have had that opportunity. And I'm so happy here.
Is it difficult to change your dreams, right? Because people don't talk about that, right?
Yeah.
They'll speak about what do you dream of, what do you want to do, but we're allowed to change our minds.
Oh, yes.
Except there's a discomfort, if you will, because it's almost, I don't know, in my mind, when I've changed my mind about goals, it's almost felt like I've succumbed to the failure of reaching those goals.
Yeah.
So trying to battle my head, am I changing my mind because I feel like I failed?
Yeah. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know if it's... No. I mean, it's not... It's a matter of... sometimes when you see things from far, they look so nice. And the closer you get, you realize, but this actually isn't for me. This is not me. And to be brave enough to turn just before you get there is amazing. Why would you carry on if you know that that's not for you? Stop and move in another direction. Because believe me, the person who started the journey and then decides to veer off in another direction is a better person from where
whatever
you
it is,
started.
yes.
And actually, if you carry on going and you realize that that's actually not for me, then why are you doing it?
But that's been the story of your life, right?
Yeah.
Where you think you're moving in this direction.
Yeah.
And somehow it's steered in that direction. And it requires a bit of audacity.
It does.
Where does that come from? Where you just drop something and you're on to the next and you drop something. Where do you think that comes from? And how do people learn to have that audaciousness, if there's a word?
I think it is, but I'm not necessarily the living example of audaciousness. I'm kind of the living example of continuity and stability. And it's boring sometimes. I find myself a bit boring. I really do.
Well, I don't. I think
Thank
you're
you.
really
I'm so glad you
interesting.
don't. But I find comfort in sticking to something until I start unsticking. I'm the kind of person who uses a handbag until I can't use it anymore, and then I throw it away.
Yeah.
And I buy a new one, and then I carry on using that same bag. I I've stuck it out. I stuck out, like I say, I stuck out the business program until I knew that I'd done a good
But
job.
even that
and I moved.
requires you to be
It does.
audacious.
And then I moved on to the morning show. And I've stuck it out for 21 years through highs and lows and through times when I've wanted to so badly walk out the door. So badly. But I've stuck it out for reasons that I one day will speak about. But, I think my head more than anything. And I stuck it out and I've stayed and I've loved every minute of it, even though it's hurt me to many different degrees. But I am that kind of person. I don't chop and change and move and go. I mean, literally, I grew up in the area that I have a house in now.
Sure.
I mean, that is boring.
Sure.
It's really boring.
I think you like, it's like you work in the army. You've served.
Committed.
You continue to serve.
I commit myself to a fault.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing.
No.
And we're all different people. And that's what I love about this world, is that there are people that chop and change and move and go from one job to the next job, to the next job, to the next house, to the next school, to the next university,
but
the
that's
next
so
country.
much easier to
And
do.
it's cool. But somehow it is. But when you commit to something and you go through the highs and the lows and the battles and you keep growing through it all, but I've got to know when it's my time, and I will know that.
Yeah.
But it's also, it comes with it. But that's what makes life so interesting.
What is your compass? What is it that we're going to have to wrap it up?
Yeah.
But what is the thing that sort of guides you, whether it be, I don't know, in your spirit, that thing that tells you now is the time?
Yeah, when my passion starts going. When my
Okay.
passion and my moral compass tells me something's not right here and you better served elsewhere. And that's an important thing to listen to. There is a little inner voice that we don't give enough time to. Somebody had said to me once, we were it was actually it was quite an interesting conversation we were having about religion, whatever religion you are, and I'm not going to go there, but it was that there are greater beings that send us messages, and sometimes what happens is you're too busy to hear the message, and you fight through the message. So in my mind, I thought of it this way: like, I've got a cell phone, and if I leave my cell phone and I never open my WhatsApps and someone's desperately trying to get hold of me and I never stop for a moment just to have a look, am I ever going to get that message? And I think that's what we need to do, and that's what I try and do for myself as well, as I allow quiet time to get the messages that I'm being sent to say, it's your time. It's time to go.
Well, we hope that message doesn't come in anytime soon. You've served us literally all of South Africa for 21 years.
Sure.
And counting, because there was Leanne before Morning Live.
Yeah.
You continue to serve us today. Your story, I think, will change many young women's lives. There's so much to learn from the decisions you've made, the mistakes that you've made.
Absolutely.
And also what a fantastic life, Leanne. What an absolutely fantastic life you've managed to live. We are so grateful to be able to share it, or at least hear it from the horse's mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, Leanne Manas.
That was beautiful. Wow.
Thank you, Leanne.
Guys, that was so lovely. Thank you
That was so
much.
nice. It's really times I like.
This Women's Month, we get up close and personal with a few South African women who run their game.